Okay, now there's a lot of ways to extract an exterior door from a home. You can either cut the jamb straight across with a Sawzall and try and rip this guy off to the masonry, which I don't normally like to do because when you do that, you can accidentally rip out the cleats or damage the bricks. First thing you should do when you're gonna remove an exterior door is take the slab out. All you gotta do is knock out these 3 hinge pins and the slab should come straight out. So you just wanna go ahead, throw the pry bar in there. That's one. Make sure that you have a tarp underneath your door. That's 2. There's our 3 hinge pins. Put down your tools, and all you gotta do is open the door, and the door will come out, no problem. And this is a light one too, thank goodness. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get rid of this slab, and next we're gonna show you how to remove the jamb of your door. Yeah. Okay, now here we have a storm door installed in front of the original exterior door. So this particular customer chose to have this storm door removed and reinstalled on top of the new door. So that's what we're gonna do for this customer. First thing you wanna do when you're gonna remove the storm door is you always wanna remove the pistons first. It's the first thing. So since this one doesn't have a catch plate, a little catch pin here, what I like to do is I'll pull the door open a little bit, hold the bar, and push up on that pin that comes out, no problem. Then you just let it go. Once you let it go, the piston retracts on its own, and this guy comes out like cake. We'll put that on the side. We'll put that in the bag for later. And you can do, since this one has a catch on it, we can actually manipulate that, and that comes out no problem. And the same thing with the pin up here. And then what I like to do is I'll use the same pin that I just took out so we can relieve pressure on the piston. And we'll go ahead and push this. We'll let that go. Put that on the floor, and that can go in a bag for later. Now, next thing you want to do is you must remove the hinge side screws on the storm door. Okay, now we're going to come on the outside. Now, a lot of storm doors, especially the nicer ones, when they're new of course, they have these screw caps. You don't normally see them. Well, sometimes you'll see that these won't have these screw caps on there, but this one does. The way you get these off, the best way to get them off is start from the bottom, and you pry it off. You just work your way up carefully, because you're gonna have to reinstall this. You don't want to end up cracking or breaking it, because then you gotta order it and you gotta wait for however long it takes for the factory to send it to you, and hopefully the factory is still in business. So you're gonna put that on the side. Over here I got this nice little bush to hold that for me, and that exposes the screws. Wow, there's only 3 of them here. There's 1, 2, and the third one at the top. Well, since I'm only 5'3", I'm gonna go grab my ladder. I'm gonna see if I could grab that screw at the top. I always like starting from the bottom and working my way up to the top when it comes to removing the screws on these on the jamb side of the storm door. So we're gonna remove the bottom screw first and work our way up. That guy broke. It's 2, and the reason why I remove them from the bottom going up so that the door doesn't fall on me as I'm taking it off. Storm door should come right off since we took all the screws. Piston, we missed one. No, we got them all. Oh, I did get it. Okay, there you go. And we're gonna put this storm door on the side so that we can install it at the end of the project. It's always good to lay these storm doors down. Since it's cold outside and there is overcast, I can get away with laying the door on the grass, but normally if it's hot outside, it's a sunny day, you want to put down a cardboard first, and then you can lay the storm door down. Because if you don't, what happens is the sun reflects onto the glass and it'll actually burn the grass, kill it, and then you are resodding the customer's front lawn. But in this particular case, we can get away with it. It's an overcast day and it's 35 degrees outside. There we go. Next, we're gonna do the same thing. Take off the screw cap covers. That's okay. And that's how you remove your storm door. Next, we're going to remove this jamb. We'll go through a quick instructional on how to get that done. Let's go get a plastic bag and put all these screws in there. Make a good seal. So now we're going to go ahead and remove the brick molding on our existing door. We've already lead tested this. This has no lead paint. So we could go ahead and just remove the door as we would any other one. Always start from the bottom and work our way up. Okay, so we went ahead and disconnected the power to the doorbell. So now it's running on battery. And we're going to continue ripping off this brick molding. We're going to do it very carefully, pushing these wires through. Looks like it's already flashing, asking for power. That's okay. So what I like to do when I reach up here so I don't have to get my ladder is I'll put the hammer underneath the brick mold and I'll just push in and that comes right out. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Looks like we got a screw right there. You right? Okay. So in this opening, we have 3 cleats. We have one in the bottom, about a quarter of the way up, another one about halfway, and another one about a quarter, or a little less than a quarter of the way down from the top of the jamb. And we're expecting to see the same thing on the other side. So over here we have a wooden cleat here, a wooden cleat here. You can actually see it if once I rip this jamb out, you'll see it. A wooden cleat here, and hopefully there's one about here, but we can't see it yet because we got the mortar in the way. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take out our trim. We're not gonna reuse this trim. We're gonna replace it with primed Colonial 2 1/4 inch wide. Now, remember we did this before we started recording. we always run a blade on the back side of the trim before you remove it, because if you have drywall and you remove your trim before you do that, you'll end up tearing your drywall paper or bringing the paint with it, which that's a whole other problem that you'll create for yourself. So there's our trim on the hinge side, and we'll do the same thing over here on this side. Alright, there's our trim. Now, if you look up here, this old jamb has a header across the top where it extends way past the jamb. It doesn't, like the newer doors, they're made where they're connected at the very edge of the left and the right jamb. Well, this guy goes further out to the left, and this guy goes further out to the right. So in order to take this out, we're gonna have to remove each leg. So we're gonna bring each leg into the center. And we're gonna find where the nails are so that we don't end up damaging or loosening the existing cleats that are in there. And you can actually see them on pretty much any old door that you look, you can actually see the nail heads. Like if you could, there's one here. Looks like there's one about here. And about here. So the way I get these guys out is I use my pry bar East Wing pry bar, and it looks like, to me, it looks like there's a nail right about here. Yep, there it is. Yep, got it. And it looks like there's one right next to it. Okay. Another way you can remove these jambs is by running the Sawzall right in between the brick and the jamb itself and cutting those nails off too. But if you do that, sometimes what happens is the vibration of the Sawzall will end up shaking that cleat loose. You try not to, you don't want to do that. So there looks like there's one about here. Yep, there it is. Adjust myself here. And it looks like there's one right about here. There it is, nice and deep. All right, and there might be one right here. Nope. All right, let's see what we got. We can pull this guy out. Where's my pry bar? Oh, there we go. Okay, let's take off this. Oh, it's still here. So this technique of rotating the pry bar to pretty much remove any kind of trim, wood, works really well. I see, I was close. I can see those nails right there. Okay. This guy should come right out. And we're gonna twist it. And pull. That's one side. Okay, what we're gonna do before we continue is we're gonna clean up our workspace here. Because what ends up happening is when you start getting all this debris and it starts getting on the customer's floor, even though we cover it, sometimes the dust will get underneath it. So we're gonna vacuum and we'll come right back and remove the other side of the jam and the top.